Welcome. Hi there. Take 75. Hi. Okay, so we're going to talk about how I achieved this Swiss Army knife photo using a 3-point light setup. Now this is something that you could use for almost any product or still life. So we break the video up into setup, shoot, and post-production. Okay, I'm going to start with a backdrop. So what we're going to do up here is I'll be shining a light onto here. That'll be my backlight. Just to break whatever subject you have in there, just to bring it away from that background. This is going to be our key light. So key light is your main light. This is where the biggest source, mostly the biggest source of your lighting will be coming from. That's it, and that's not it, trust me. So you got your 4 rods, they're like welding rods. We don't need that, don't need that. But basically, this is, get out of here. This is what connects to your light, see? So it's a balance fit, I believe. These are the structures that kind of hold your softbox together. Is that annoying sound I told you about? Okay, so there is a modeling light. Now have a look at my face, right? Beautiful modeling face. So I've got all this kind of lovely diffused light coming in from the right hand side of my face. Yeah, look great, does it? Anyway, we're not shooting my face, thankfully. Next light, and this one, the next one's going to be a fill light. So this is going to be kind of counteracting your key light a little bit, but you don't want it too strong. So it's just going to be taking the edge off some of those shadows. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a snoot. So it just pops on. What does a snoot do? It just shapes your light. So it narrows your beam, and I've got a honeycomb on there too, which shapes the light beams a little bit more. Just kind of narrows them down, and I know it's weird, but it straightens your beams out. It's weird, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so I've got this beautiful, tiny little, look at that. That's like, I think it's a mic stand, but actually works great for a floor light stand, for a little floor tripod for my backlight. So what we got? Okay, whew, here's a mess. No model light on there, so we go to the back and we just put modeling light on. Can you see that? Boom! Okay, come with me, I'll show you. Underneath the table. Right, okay, here is, oh, now the one thing about honeycombs I don't like is that they do make a shape, especially when you're putting it onto the background. Why am I talking to you underneath the table? No idea. Okay, so now you set up your 3-point light system. Let's go shoot. So this is a tripod that I use. This is a solid aluminium Manfrotto. Things are falling off it. That's not a great sign. I do have on here the MVH 502AH, which is a fluid video head, which I absolutely love. So this is a wonderful piece of kit. It's the Canon 5D Mark IV. It's not the L version, it's the EF Canon macro lens. It's 100mm f2.8. is super sharp. I love it. It's a great lens. What I'm thinking is I'm going to try and shoot with this. It might be, focal length might be a bit too long, so I might have to drop to the nifty 50, which is also, as you know, great sharp lens. I like to shoot in manual, mostly, depending on what you want to achieve, but it just gives you the, it gives you more control, I find. Up to you. You shoot whatever you want. My personal preference, especially when you set up in a studio environment, you've got so much control over all your light. Everything's great. So let's turn this baby on. That was nearly a spectacular end to video. That back leg just started to go, and if I didn't catch that, literally, that's on the floor. I'm just setting up my still life, right? So I kind of wanna have, something like that, where, just in case you don't know what I'm going for, that was the shot. I'm trying to recreate that because I never got to do the whole tutorial. So I'm just gonna try and set it up as close as I can to match that. Okay, so let's fire one off. What I'm still not getting, which is what I really want, is the reflection off that blade. So I've got to find the angle. So what I'm going to do is just bring this a bit closer and angle it a bit more so that we can see our blade. Can you see that? You see that? Alright, hang on, I'm going to find the button. At the moment, this angle where I am right now is where I'm getting the reflection the best. Where I am at the moment on my camera, I'm not getting that. So I'm going to have to turn my subject matter a bit. Now that is a bit closer. Oh, that is beautiful. And now the highlight is just picking up the edge of the blade. It's, I love it. Try that. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. It's just a little bit of movement, slight angling of that blade to pick up my key light. So at the moment, just on the tip of the blade, I'm getting a slight gradient where I'm not picking up all of the light. It's not what I want, so I'm going to continue to move stuff around. So I literally just tilted my key light like, a couple of degrees, and I'm picking up that reflection beautifully. So let's see that. Now, one thing that I had to do when I did the original shoot of this is quite a lot of retouching. So on the handle of the blade itself, there are loads of nicks and scratches. So I'm looking at this shot again, and I genuinely, I do not like the handle having so much highlight. It's literally taking all the detail out of it. One of the strongest recognizable attributes of the Victorinox knife is the red handle. Let's face it. If I take that out, so at the moment it's almost white because of the reflection. Now you can't see it because Canon failed to support me on this shoot and give me the tethering capabilities that I needed to create this video. However, no, there's no however. One thing I find when shooting products or still life, especially when you're at this kind of experimental stage, you don't know quite what you want your outcome to be, and I kind of do in this instance, but there's still loads of trial and error, loads of experimentation, loads of moving stuff around, lights, loads of changing lenses, to see, it's a creative process. You've got to experiment and be brave. Don't chicken out. Oh, this is what worked for me last time. Don't think like that. Think like, shit, I'm going to change stuff up. I know it's worked for me in the past, but today I'm going to use an ultra wide lens, whatever, try stuff. Okay, so the shot that I've selected to take forward into post-production is the one that has the lovely little highlight on the knife edge. but also the fact that there were very few blown highlights on the handle, which means that I could see a lot more red, and for me the Swiss Army knife is all about that red handle. Okay, so take my chosen shot into Lightroom. We'll start to edit the raw file. First of all, I'll start with the crop, just getting the composition right, and then I move into some tones. So I'll just reduce the exposure a bit, punch up the contrast, bring up the highlights a little bit, drop the shadows, be careful not to crush the blacks. And then moving into presence, I like to just bring out the texture and clarity a bit. And then desaturate, I think, is best. And then moving on to the HSL, where I brought down the hue a little bit just to get that right red, saturated a little bit, and brought the luminance down so it wasn't too overpowering. Then into Photoshop, I think most of the foreground had loads of spots in, so I used the spot removal tool just to get rid of all those spots. So the handle took most of the work. There were lots of nicks and scratches on here, so I used the spot removal tool for the most part to get rid of the small spots. But for the bigger nicks and scratches, I had to use the patch tool, and I find that this gives better results than the clone tool. There was also a stray hair that has made its way onto the set, which, to be honest, I didn't even see. So always keep an eye on your subject matter. One of the things in this is to get that handle looking really nice and slick and smooth with a couple of highlights on, just to punch out the glossiness. I didn't want a massive gradients on there. We could have gone for that look, but that's not the look I was going for. I really wanted the red to shine through. When I moved on to the blade, I just literally did a little blurring in a layer and then knocked the opacity back on that layer just to smooth out the texture of that blade. And then into some of the stones, they were maybe a little distracting in that their highlights and their midtones were a little bit bright. So I used the dodge and burn tool just to burn some of those highlights and some of those midtones down, just to darken those stones to really make that knife punch out. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I hope you learned something. Catch you next time.